Hey, Slick Talkers, thank you so much for tuning into this podcast. And I know that if you love this show, you'll also love my morning show called Good Morning Hospitality with my co hosts Michael Golden and Brandy Canali, as we spend 30 minutes every Monday morning to dive into the industry's top latest news and trending topics. So go check it out on wherever you find your podcasts at Good Morning Hospitality. And you can live stream with us on Monday mornings on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. Now, I hope you enjoy this episode. Okay, let me crack open this Red Bull for this episode because we're going to need it. You're listening to Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, a podcast for those who are in and around the hospitality industry who love, live, and breathe what they do. You can join us for candid and unscripted conversations with hospitality experts and founders as we go deeper into their personal stories while they're sharing their triumphs and trials that got them to where they are today. I'm your host, Will Slickers, and you're listening to an episode of Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. Now, let's begin. All right, Slick Talkers, welcome back to another episode of Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast. And if you can't hear it in my voice, man, have I been talking a lot the last 2 weeks. And not a surprise as a podcaster, but thankfully it was not just from podcasting, it was from actually being at conferences, as a lot of you who are listening know and probably were there. So this episode is going to be diving into the recap and I guess discovery of what I saw, what I heard, and kind of the conversations happening within the industry. So if you got your pen and paper or maybe a note app open on your phone, let's dive in because we're going to start off with the Book Direct Show. A lot of you know Damian Sheridan, Deborah Levy, and myself partnered together to bring the Book Direct Show from Europe over to the United States. We picked Miami as the destination. And earlier this year, Damian Sheridan and I hopped on a plane, flew to Miami together. He came from Spain and I came from Denver. And we went shopping, basically. It's the easiest way to put it. We went venue shopping. We hired our event coordinator. So shout out to Frank from Mr. B Hospitality out in Miami. And we started rolling with what we felt like was going to make this such a good conference. So everything from the vendors to thinking about sponsor placement, lodging, all the other stuff that kind of goes into event planning, we did it. And the Book Direct Show, I would say, was a great success. Obviously, nothing is perfect and there's always room for improvement, but what we saw and felt was super special. And we got a lot of positive feedback along with really good constructive feedback as well. And I'm just super thankful for the community that we had around us, because without my team from hospitality.fm, from Damian's team, and everybody that kind of helped put this together, we would not have been able to do it. And everyone that attended, it was so great to meet new faces and to see some old ones as well, and just really get to the nitty gritty. Like, yes, there's always a good amount of speaking sessions. There's a great amount of fun and networking, but I feel like there's a lot of value. A lot of people, either on stage or off stage, brought a lot to the table and really focused on harnessing in that conversation of having good guest experience without losing our independence to OTAs. And as Damian will say, it's not an anti-OTA event. We actually had Hopper as a sponsor there. So not saying that you need to be anti-OTAs at all. That's not the message we want to get across. We want to really focus on how do we understand our data and our guests better and are able to use tactics in a methodical and natural, I would say more natural way than most people would maybe understand or even seem to think of. So obviously a lot of amazing speakers. And I want to give a couple shout outs to like Heather Bayer, Tyann Marsink, Ryan Dame from Cosago, and a few others who really just took the stage. And we had a lot of our podcast guests really from the recent year or last 2 years, be present from speaking opportunities and then also within the audience. So just really awesome. And of course, my Destination Air Awards, my baby, my passion project, I don't know exactly what to call it, but it was so special to have that intimate setting at the venue the first night of the conference where people left. We all got dinner, maybe had a drink or two, and came back a little dressed up and just got to socialize and kind of let our guard down, but then take a moment to really recognize amazing operators in our space. We had planned for, I think we planned for 8 to 10 winners, and we actually only ended up getting 5. And the reason being, and I'll kind of explain some of the process behind the scenes with the Destination Air Awards, was, we didn't want this to be a popularity contest. We didn't want this to be a way for the same people to always be on stage. And granted, there's a lot of people that do deserve to be on stage that are, but we want to recognize more of the passionate operators that maybe don't get that opportunity as much. And with over 150 nominations within the time that we announced opening of nominations to the day we closed them, 150 nominations, we vetted it down to 5 that we felt like were truly, and when I say we, I'm talking about myself and my team with hospitality.fm really to help me. And we vetted through all these nominations from their websites to their social medias to their community around them, from people on LinkedIn and other things like that. And we really got nitty gritty with the details and felt like the 5 that won were truly deserving and represent a destination air at heart. They're naturally born and gifted at hospitality, and they focus on community at a greater scale, from the regulation standpoint to being a good neighbor and being involved with other local businesses and really honing in that hospitality mindset when it comes to creating a destination. So thank you to all of our winners. If you did not see who the winners were on LinkedIn, I'll put the post in the show notes, so make sure you grab that link, go check them out, go connect with them. I want to make sure this episode is short and sweet, so that way we're not just overly talking and wearing out my voice even more. So moving on to VRMA. We all were in Miami. I would say my team and I were in Miami from Sunday to Sunday. They flew home. Michael and Claire flew back to their homes, Austin and then in LA. And I flew off to Vegas to really focus on the relationships. And this was the exciting part for me, because even though I was a little sick, I got a head cold, as you could probably hear, like I said earlier in the episode, in Miami, but was feeling a lot better once I got in and kind of took a nap and rested and all that good stuff. But with that, VRMA was like a big family reunion. And with that, it's just really special to have that time in order to catch up properly and to really sit down and kind of talk about our goals for the next year, what we're seeing in the industry. And as an episode goes live today on our live stream, I got to interview Travis Wilburn from the 100 collection and his partner Rebecca, and talk about this standardization. And the number one thing that they saw and heard at VRMA was the topic of regulation, obviously, the topic of more independence from OTAs, which kind of a big topic these days, hence why we did the Book Direct show. But then also going into staffing and the things that just kind of involve in standardization with property management brands that help raise the bar. Not that we're trying to be like hotels, but really create that standardized experience. And it was really important conversation to have. So if you, again, don't follow or connect with me on LinkedIn, you should definitely go to the link in the show notes as well. And we gave a couple shout outs to Minute, our partners here on the podcast, as well as Cassiola Vacation Homes and Justin Ford from Breezeway, because there's people in this space and companies, whether operators or providers, that are really bringing great value and just changing the game when it comes to thinking outside the box and doing things differently than others, which I really respect. And I think with Justin's advocacy work, and not just advocacy of regulation, but safety. How do we save lives? And that may sound like a dramatic statement, but how do we save lives? Because there's people that die in vacation homes more than you would ever imagine because of unsafe practices. So, really commending, Justin on that and hearing more about what he's doing. Obviously, you probably heard him on the podcast if you're a longtime listener, so go check out those older episodes as well. But yeah, so we, focusing on these conversations is really important and just exciting because now this next phase, I feel like I told this to Travis after the recording, is I can't really put my finger on it. I don't know what I feel or what I'm seeing. The question I always was getting asked at VRMA was, what do you see as, maybe a trend is a poor word for it, but what do you see trending? What do you see happening at a grander scale? And I see stuff happening. I see the professionalization standards. I see and hear all the regulation talk, but I just can't put my finger on it. There's something special and shifting, and I feel like it's a good shift. I don't know exactly where to point it, and maybe if you're listening to this episode, you can tell me where you might feel this is going, because I would love to be able to describe it a little bit more accurately. That being said, there's a lot of really good things to be proud of for our industry, and I think if you're listening to this and you're a vacation rental manager, you're a tech provider, you're a leader in the space, then I think this is a great time to take a breather, catch our bearing a little bit. As I say catch a breather, I literally feel my body just immediately tense up and try to relax. And, it's been a long year. So get ready for the next year to come. We have a lot of work to do still, but we should be proud of where we've kind of pushed the needle. And now it's time to really take control of the reins and kind of just focus on settling in and building something that will last forever and generation to generation. So this is kind of my quick episode. I do want to give a thank you to our podcast sponsors. I could not be doing this without you, and getting to see all of you at VRMA was so special. So shout out to Emmanuel Lavoie from Jetstream, who will be a future guest again on the podcast in the next couple of weeks, as well as all of the team at Minute, Richard, Victoria, Marcus, Nathan. It was so great to meet you guys and see you all again. Oh, not again. See you all for the first time in VRMA, as well as the whole team at Safely. Super proud of you guys for all the growth that you've had in the last year, and congratulations on the fundraising. And then also to Team Hostfully. You guys are killing it, and I love seeing Flash and all the amazing jackets and theme throughout all the conferences. So just big thank you. If you're a listener of the show and you're a vacation rental manager, then these are all companies you need to check out. You need to get involved into your business because they're doing things right, and they're doing things bigger and better than most, I would say. So thank you guys for participating in the podcast. Thank you for listening this week. And now I'm going to finish this Red Bull as I try to power through more and more to-do list items. See you all again next week.
Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to our show partners for making Slick Talk, the hospitality podcast, possible. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we would love to connect with you outside of the podcast. So you can follow us on all of our social media channels for daily hospitality content, or find us on slicktalkthepodcast.com. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm your host, Will Slickers, and we will see you guys all again next week.